I'm Tom Jackson. I have the privilege of serving as Executive Director of the Georgia World War I Centennial Commission. Thank you for your attendance at this significant observance today of Veterans Day, and its in particular significance this year, the precise centennial moment of the Armistice that marked the end of World War I. It's been our honor and pleasure to be welcomed by the fine performance of the 116th Army National Guard Band Brass Quintet from Marietta. The band from which this quintet is drawn was founded in 1859 and is the oldest military National Guard or Reserve band. Its mission is to provide music throughout the spectrum of military operations to instill in our forces the will to fight and win, foster the support of our citizens, and promote our national interests at home and abroad. To these fine soldier musicians, we say, you fulfilled your mission today. Thank you for your service. As we approach the 11 o'clock hour, we will join observances across the United States, in Great Britain, elsewhere in Europe, and around the world in marking the moment with the ringing of the bells of peace. In doing so, we join places of worship, schools, town halls, and community organizations across our nation and around the world to mark this 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the moment at which the ceasefire came into effect in 1918. This is being led by the tolling of the bells at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., a part of the National Interfaith Service commemorating all those who served and the 116,516 Americans who did not come home. We join to honor the more than 100,000 Georgia daughters and sons who joined the struggle for freedom, and the more than 3,700 of them who died in uniform, men, women, Black, white, Native American, all races, Georgians who gave the greatest sacrifice in service to their country and defense of freedom for the world. We do so to remember the 130 Georgians who perished in the wreck of the troop ship Otranto, to remember Georgia's native son Eugene Bullard, the first African-American fighter pilot, to remember Privates Willie Boston and Tom Powell, 93rd Division, who earned the Distinguished Service Cross. We do so to remember Georgian Melina Michael, the Poppy Lady, who dedicated herself to promoting the red buddy poppy as a memorial to those lost in World War I. The contribution of Georgia to the World War I effort was significant. Our bell will be rung 21 times at 5-second intervals by members of the Blue Ridge Rifles from the University of North Georgia's Corps of Cadets. Cadet Sergeant First Class Jacob Denton, Cadet Captain Nicholas Hood, and Cadet Captain Mark Handlin. Please stand as you are able as we in Georgia join in the nation and the world in sounding the bells of peace. recognition is to Wayne Coleman of Stone Mountain, a third-generation bagpiper, for his contribution with the bagpipes today. We note he's playing his father's bagpipes, purchased in Glasgow, Scotland in 1937. Please remain standing for the presentation of the colors by members of the Georgia Society, Sons of the American Revolution. Color Guard, present the colors. It is our great pleasure to welcome renowned Atlanta operatic tenor soloist Mr. Timothy Miller to sing our national anthem.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glow, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Bravo! Pretty darn fantastic.
Our sincere appreciation to Mr. Miller. To lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we're honored to welcome former Georgia State Senator Hunter Hill. He's a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. He's a former infantry officer and airborne ranger who led troops in 3 combat deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq. In addition to being a businessman, a husband, a father, and a former state senator, when he represented Georgia's 6th District, Senator Hill was instrumental in the legislation that created the Georgia World War I Centennial Commission in 2015. Senator Hill, we on the commission are grateful for the responsibility and the opportunity you placed upon us, and we welcome you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join us in pledging allegiance to the greatest nation in the history of the world. I pledge allegiance to the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing through the retiring of the colors. Thank you. Please be seated. Again, our sincere appreciation to the Blue Ridge Rifles of the University of North Georgia, to the Georgia Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, to Atlanta's own Timothy Miller, to Senator Hunter Hill, for the significant roles they have played in our ceremony today. It's our pleasure now to welcome to deliver our invocation the Reverend J.R. McAlilly III, pastor of Center Congregational Church in Atlanta. Reverend McAlilly serves as chaplain of American Legion Post 134 and of the Sons of the American Revolution Atlanta chapter. Reverend McAlilly.